Hi, friends. It's Natalie here. Welcome to another episode of the Natalie Tysdal podcast. Today, I'm chatting with betrayal expert, Lora Cheadle. We're going to dive deep into the topic, not just the huge betrayals we all think of, like infidelity, but also those everyday disappointments that wear us out. Lora shares her personal journey from being a corporate lawyer to dealing with a heartbreaking infidelity, and how those experiences led her to understand self-betrayal and to help others overcome it. If you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe trying to juggle everything, or if you're struggling with resentment, this episode is a must listen. Lora has some incredible insights on managing expectations, honoring yourself, and moving forward and doing so even stronger. Before we dive into the conversation, a quick reminder: subscribe to the podcast and sign up for my weekly newsletter full of health and wellness tips delivered straight to your inbox. I promise it's worth your time. And please hit subscribe. If you find this episode helpful, share it with someone who might need a little extra boost today. Let's get into it today with Lora Cheadle. Lora, thank you for joining me today. I know this topic is important to you, and you're able to help other people on this sense of betrayal, which can come from lots of different places.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting because when people think about betrayal, oftentimes they think about infidelity, which is a form of betrayal. And what they don't think about is those subtle ways that their expectations get broken along the way that lead to a sense of betrayal. And that sense of betrayal can really, really wear you out if it's not identified and managed.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously adultery and things like that, that's betrayal. What are some other forms of betrayal that you're able to help people with? And I want to get into identifying it as betrayal, the things that happen in our bodies and our minds when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Two big ones that come up: being a working mom, just being a mom in general. We have this idea that we can do it all, that we can have this incredible career and we can be present with our kids and we can be there for our spouse. We have this ideal image in our head. And then oftentimes when we can't live up to that, when our kids aren't perfect, when our home is a mess, when we're exhausted because we can't get everything done in the day that we think we should be able to do, we start internalizing it. And we start thinking, I've done something wrong. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. My husband's horrible. My kids are horrible. My job is horrible. And we start catastrophizing things and we start feeling betrayed. Like it was promised to me that I could be able to do it all. When in reality, that's a false promise. And it's our sense that we have been betrayed by life that really starts wearing us out.
So is this on us? I mean, is it, we try to blame other people. We do. And sometimes it is someone else's fault that you feel that way. But is it the way you see things that we now need to try to alter?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit of both. I'm really glad that you asked that because oftentimes we are betraying ourselves. We aren't taking care of our needs. We aren't saying no when we need to say no. We are living to somebody else's standards. We are seeking to please. We are trying to conform. We are trying to outperform at the expense of ourselves. And we start abandoning ourselves. And then it's that chronic sense of self-betrayal that causes us to start thinking, A, I'm doing a horrible job, or B, you're making me feel this way.
What's the difference between betrayal and resentment?
Ooh, that's such a good question. Resentment is a symptom of betrayal. When you start betraying yourself by abandoning yourself, when somebody else starts betraying you, you start feeling resentment. So if you're feeling resentful, chances are what's going on is there's some betrayal happening that you might not be aware of.
Yeah. How did this become your focus? How did you decide that does this come from hurt and betrayal that you have felt?
Yes, it's an interesting story. I was a corporate attorney for 10 years. And once I started having kids, I started having that sense that I was failing and that there was too much work. I had to bill a certain number of hours. I had to be perfect. I had to be on. And I ended up walking away. And I walked away from a career that I otherwise loved because I thought I was burned out. fast forward, and I went through a terrible infidelity situation with my spouse. And I ended up learning a lot about betrayal. What is betrayal trauma? What does it do to you? How do you feel? How does it metabolize in your body? And that's when I started connecting the dots. And it was like, oh my gosh, what I was feeling wasn't burnout. It was a sense of betrayal. And connecting the dots in reverse really allowed me to see what was going on and what I could do to manage that sense of betrayal in the future.
How now do you help people with that? Once it's identified and someone says, that's what I'm feeling, how do you get past it?
Yeah, that's a great question. The biggest thing that I teach people to do is to start identifying their expectations. To ask themselves, sometimes it's as simple as, what am I expecting in this situation? What am I expecting from this interaction? And then taking it a step further by saying, is this an idealistic expectation or is this a realistic expectation? And it's hard sometimes to be honest with yourself because we have such idealistic expectations. I expect to be able to go have this difficult conversation with somebody and they're just going to say, my gosh, Lora, you're right. I didn't see it that way. That's idealistic. That's not necessarily realistic. And when we reframe our expectations in terms of realistic expectations, we are a lot happier. We are able to advocate on our own behalf a lot better. And then we don't tend to burn out or feel betrayed. And the other person feels honored and heard as well.
Yeah. I think you mentioned like as moms, it happens to us often. How often do you see women dealing with this more than men?
More often, because women in our culture, in our society, we have this belief that we can do it all and that we should be happy and beautiful and kind and loving.
We're so hard on ourselves.
My gosh, I know, right? Yeah. We feel like we have to do it all. And we truly have been raised to believe that. And even when we start challenging the narrative for ourselves, it's really hard to disengage from that in our actions.
I don't want to give up that notion though.
Me neither.
I think we, in our generation, we did grow up saying you can have it all, dream big. You could be a mom and have that corporate experience and stay fit and stay healthy, all of these things that I still don't want to give up on it, Lora.
Don't either. I'm with you.
And I don't think we necessarily should give up on having it all. It's just somehow reframing it.
Yes. And one of the things that I talk with my people a lot about is, are you happy? I get a lot of satisfaction from setting the bar high and from meeting those standards. I get a lot of satisfaction from that. But if you can be aware, I'm starting to wear out. I'm starting to not be healthy. I'm mainlining caffeine in order to get to the gym when really what I should do is pull out a book and a cup of tea and just rest for a while. So it's always going back to, how am I feeling? Am I happy or am I striving?
Yeah. Well, I can't imagine being a corporate lawyer and trying to be a mom and keep up with that race. I used to say when I was kind of in that same place, and I called it burnout. I haven't thought about calling it betrayal. And yet I think maybe you could help me get there. Being in the news business for so long, getting up in the middle of the night, raising 3 kids, trying to stay healthy, just because I felt like I need to be able to do it. I don't know who set that standard for me other than myself, but it was that hamster wheel and treadmill, all of those things of just being exhausted and burnout. And then like, why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for?
Exactly. And if you go back to the definition of burnout is stress that has been unsuccessfully managed. So yes, there's a component of that. But betrayal is defined as the breaking of an expectation that you have relied on that ruptures your view of yourself or the world. And I can only imagine when you're getting up in the middle of the night, sometimes the thought might have gone through your head, this isn't exactly what I expected. I didn't expect this. I thought it would be easier. I thought it would be more enjoyable. I thought maybe I would get more satisfaction out of it.
Yeah. I kind of set myself to answering 3 questions. And you mentioned, am I really happy? But I added to that before I made the decision to just leave the career that I had built. And I imagine you went through the same thing. Am I happy and am I proud of what I'm doing? Am I proud of myself?
Yes.
And am I challenged by what I'm doing in a healthy way? Or is it just, for me, it became robotic? Like, I'm just doing this because I have to do this. I'm not really challenged by it anymore. And those 3 things helped me reach that decision of, I'm ready for something new.
Yes. And it's hard. It's really hard to walk away. It's really hard to shift. Whether it's changing careers or leaving a relationship, change is really, really hard. And we all want to do the right thing. And we don't want to have regrets. And it is hard, and it is important to sit with it. Like you said, ask yourself those filter questions. Talk to somebody that you trust. Futurecast. Sit there. How would it feel if I did this? How would I feel in my body? Because so often we're in our heads. I know as a lawyer, I was in my head all the time. I thought I could figure it out. I could think my way through it. When the truth of the matter is the wisdom is in our bodies. And when we drop out of our heads and we reconnect to our hearts, to our guts, to our nervous systems, so often we know what we need to do.
Oh, you think so? How do you get to that place when you say, we know what we need to do?
Yeah.
How do you sense that? How do you really know? Because it's in that indecision that I think we feel the stress and the betrayal.
Yes. One of the tools that I have people use is a 3-part decision-making process. What does your head say? What does your heart say? And what does your gut say? And without overthinking it, I tell people in like 3 seconds or less, just give me an answer. Does my head say leave this career? No. Does my heart say leave this career? Yes. Does my gut say leave this career? No.
Listen, are they voting? Those. Are the 3? you go with the majority?
You can. But what I usually tell people to do is sit with that information and see how it feels. Because you don't want to neglect your intellect. And if your head is telling you, we are going to have to end up in a shelter and live in a car, listen to that. But if your heart and your gut are saying no, what other changes can you make to make yourself feel better? Because it's this balancing, and we do want most of our parts on board if we can get them there. And it's not necessarily about black or white, stay or leave. Get a divorce or stay married, have a baby or not. Sometimes it's about what else can I do? Can I go part-time? Can we maybe have a trial separation? Can I get some different care options for my kids? What are some of those different things that I can do so it's not just black or white, yes or no, but how can I satisfy all parts of me? Because at the end of the day, your life is your life. And you do want to feel good and proud and satisfied.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I love that it can just be inching into these decisions so that you know how it feels when you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when I left for a while, I went part-time. And it was really nice to be able to dip my toe in that water. And while that's not always an option for everybody, there are different ways that we can do that. You know, whether it's taking some vacation, whether it's getting a nanny to live a nanny for a while, there's different options that we can try just to see how it feels, because all of life truly is an experiment. Experiment, get the feedback, see how it feels, and then move forward from there.
Yeah. When it comes to these big betrayals, so if it is infidelity, or maybe it's a friend that's betrayed you, maybe it's an employer that's lied to you, whatever, those big things, how do you help people, and how do you think we really get past that? Because we tend to we just hold on to it, like, deep in our hearts and our bodies, our nervous systems. And it's not easy. It's much easier to say, just let go. Let go. It's a tough thing to do when someone really has been wronged.
What I think is the most powerful realization is it has happened. Accepting that it happened is where it all begins. When those big things happen, we kind of want to deny it. I can't believe it happened. If I could only take it back, what if this hadn't have happened? Accepting. Acceptance is really where it all begins, accepting where it happens. And then, and this is where the gold is, realizing the devastation of betrayal is not in the betrayal itself, but it's in our failure to capitalize on that betrayal, to transform, to lift ourselves higher, to grow, to change because of it. And that hit me so hard in my infidelity journey. I knew I had every right to give up. I could be bitter. I could be hateful. I could tell that story for the rest of my life. I could bring my children down. I could bring my family down. I could play the victim forever. And then who wins? Not me. Or I could use that. I could use it as a catalyst to get stronger in myself, to learn how to manage my emotions, to find different tools, to become a brighter light, to become stronger, and to really launch into everything I was capable of becoming. And to me, that was a huge gift because I would have never dismantled my life in the way that infidelity dismantled my life. So as long as everything was falling apart, I knew it was my chance to build it up bigger. And I think that's true for just about any kind of betrayal we go through.
And it's a lot harder. It is hard to let go. I remember telling one of my daughters when she was betrayed by someone once, like, if you continue to let this eat at you, they win. They totally win. That's what they want, is for you to hurt from it. So the bigger thing you can do is to let go. Yeah. I think about, and I'm curious how you feel about this. Some people feel that if they get revenge, then they'll feel better. I was betrayed, so I'm going to make that person pay, or that company, or I'm going to badmouth them. I had a bad experience. I felt betrayed from, an employer, a store, or whatever. I'm going to get back at them, write them a review. Like, how does revenge play into all of this?
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Short term, it can feel pretty good. But long term, it doesn't. And here's why. Think about the legal scales of justice. Think about a teeter-totter. When you are down and the other person is up, it's our human desire to cut them down. And that's what revenge is doing. I'm cutting them down. I'm cutting them down. I'm cutting them down. Well, great. You've pulled one person down to your level. Again, how does that help you? The greatest revenge is elevating yourself. It's being bigger. It's being happier. It's learning how to be a better person because you're elevating. And ultimately, that other person doesn't matter anyway. It's about you. And that was something that was really monumental for me to go through and to realize it is about me. I can vibe higher. I can own myself. I can stand in my own mastery. I can reclaim my power. I can elevate myself, and I can take better care of me. And that is truly the best revenge, is getting to the place where nobody can hurt you again. Bad things will happen. Sure, you'll be stung, but you always know how to pick yourself up again. And when we're at that place, revenge doesn't even matter.
Yeah. And then if all things really worked well, some others would see you doing that, especially the person that betrayed you. Yeah. They might actually elevate themselves. And those around you who watch you, what powerful signals you're sending when people see, I could be that way too. Like, all around, you're right. Yeah.
And just because you mentioned that, the rest of my story is my husband and I did not separate when we went through our marital infidelity. He had a trauma background. He started realizing how his traumatic background was impacting him. He started getting therapy. He started showing up differently. He started healing those parts of him that led him to act out in the form of cheating. Guess what? He's a better dad now. So that helped him. That helped our kids. That helped our families. We've had friends now contact him and say, wow, I see what you went through. Can I do that too? So you're right. It's spirals of good. It's elevating everybody. And that's what I want for all of us, for the world.
That's really powerful. You're still married.
Yeah, we are.
And how many years?
almost 30 years now.
Wow. I can only imagine how difficult that was for you, where most people would have just walked away instead of walking through that fire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's why I have become such a powerful advocate talking about betrayal, because so often we think betrayal is the end of the story. Somebody betrayed me at work. A friend betrayed me. The company betrayed me. They didn't give me my bonus. My partner betrayed me. End of story. It's the beginning. It's the absolute beginning of the story. I like to say it all started with a betrayal. What are you going to do with it? That's what matters.
Yeah, from a faith perspective, I have such a powerful feeling on this because I think God gives us things and we could shake our hand at God, or we could say, okay, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yes.
I can't change it.
Right.
How can I actually be better or use it to help other people, to tell that story? It's when I love how you started this, where when you really accept it, which can take some time, you're not just going to wake up one day after being betrayed and say, I'm good.
Right.
It does
I
take
know.
time. Yeah. But to
Yeah.
really use it when we can accept it to help other people. How do you work with people? How can people benefit from your experience? And what are you doing? Are you coaching? Are you writing?
Yes.
How are you helping people?
Yes. I do coach people. I work with people in a very intimate 6-month package where we can talk every day if you want, because change takes place in the moment. I coach people via Zoom. We get together once a month and have a coaching session, but then we chat every day because during the coaching, you learn the skills, but learning skills doesn't matter. It's how you implement what you've learned. So once a month, we get together and we coach and we learn skills and we pick apart what's going on. What are you struggling with? What do you need? And then every single day, we get together on the Voxer app and we implement. So you start becoming different. And it's not just in your head. Yeah, in theory, I know how to do this. It's in practice.
Well, thanks for your advice today. I think a lot of people are going through such struggle and they haven't even identified it as betrayal.
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks so much. I'll put links in the show notes for anyone who's interested in contacting you and following you on social media and all of the things. Lora, I appreciate it.